Brought to you by NJM.
Welcome to New Jersey Capitol Report. I'm Steve Adubato.
And I'm Rafael P. Roman. Recently, Steve spoke with former New Jersey Governor Jim McGreevey about his life after politics, which has been largely committed to helping inmates and ex-offenders transition back into society through the New Jersey Reentry Corporation and the Jersey City Employment and Training Program. Governor McGreevey was joined by the Executive Director of the Reentry Corporation, John Koufos, and here now is that conversation.
Steve Adubato here. We are at the NJIT. It is my honor and pleasure to introduce two very special guests. First, the former governor of the great state of New Jersey, Jim McGreevey. He is the Executive Director of the Jersey City Employment and Training Program, and his colleague, John Koufos, Executive Director of New Jersey Reentry Corporation and Deputy Reentry Director, Jersey City Employment and Training Program. Good to see you guys.
Great to be with you, Stephen.
This is beyond the fact that you have complicated titles other than the governorship that we all get. Let's put this in context, Jim. We've talked offline a lot about this, and you've become a leader in the state on prisoner reentry. Tell us exactly what the New Jersey Reentry Corporation is,
Sure.
And then put this guy's story into context.
What we're about is in New Jersey, we have 20,000 people that are in state prisons. We have people all throughout county jails. And tragically, in this country, we're 5% of the world's population. We're 25% of the world's incarcerated population. As a country, we lock up and imprison more fellow Americans than any country in the world. Russia's second. And obviously, locking people up, from my mind, doesn't necessarily do much good. If you were going to treat a drug addict, if you were going to treat an alcoholic, you wouldn't necessarily put them in the midst of someone who's violently criminal. And I think that's been the philosophy of Democrats and Republicans in New Jersey, and particularly to give credit to Governor Christie, to understanding at the end of the long day, it's better to treat somebody for a disease than merely incarcerate them. And so we worked cooperatively in Jersey City on employment, on housing, on addiction services, and through the largesse and the commitment of the governor and bipartisan basis of the legislature, we've expanded to Newark, expanded to Patterson, to Toms River, and to Kearney. And John can tell his own story.
So I spent the first roughly 8 to 10 years of my life as a criminal defense lawyer, did trials, murders, and things of that nature. But a 20-year battle with alcohol was looming overhead. I grew up in a very difficult household. My father, a federal fugitive, mom, a teenage mom, and her own issues. And actually, at one point, I was dragged around the country as a child to 39 states between the ages of about 8 and 10 while my father was a federal fugitive. Difficult upbringing. I started drinking at 15 and never stopped until 2012. In 2011, I went to an event, got drunk, and drove drunk, as I did so many times, foolishly and tragically. And I hit somebody, and thank the Lord I didn't kill them. And then I covered it up. I was arrested thereafter, and for that, I served about a year and a half, 17 months in state prison here in New Jersey. I was blessed, blessings I don't necessarily deserve. I was blessed with sobriety. My last drink was in 2012 after stints trying to get sober. I stayed sober in prison, which isn't always easy. And when I got out, I had lost my home in Ocean County, which is where I'm from. Was wiped out. And a law school roommate took me in Hoboken, in Hudson County, and that's how I even got here. I had read about Governor McGreevey when I was away and when I had gotten out, and I had asked to volunteer. Because what I saw in Jersey City, because what I saw when I was in prison was I saw folks who kept going back and forth for many technical
back and forth to prison.
Yeah, for technical violations. I'd be there, a guy would be released to a halfway house or be released and come right back because he owed a municipal court fine of a few $100s that he couldn't take care of. He had child support obligations that he couldn't take care of, and that triggered an arrest, which triggered his inability to participate in parole or probation. So when I got out and I was volunteering, I asked to just speak to the clients, particularly the addicts, and connect them with my old friends. All my old friends are lawyers, of course, because that's what I did for nearly a decade. And these lawyers would take compliant clients who, were participating in addiction treatment, trying to get a job, trying to get back with their children, and reunify, and would represent them for free. So that's how I started as a volunteer, and I did that every Friday, connecting people to my old network, because I cannot practice anymore, of course.
You were disbarred.
Yes.
And Jim, what did you see?
Well,
because you're the one who made it happen.
No,
That's right.
And what I believe is John ultimately made it happen. Stephen, when you see so many of our clients, and we started this out, there was 20 clients, and there's 40 clients, and now we have 1,200 clients. And if I could, I'd love for America to see people that want so desperately to do what we all want to do. They want a job, they want a place to put their head at night, they want 3 square meals, they want to be reunified with their family, they want the dignity of work. And it's almost as if once you get into the criminal justice system, it's like you're on sticky paper. You can't get away from it, whether it's a probation violation or parole violation. I mean, I can tell, and we work closely with parole, and I can't say enough good things about Jim Pelosis or the Department of Corrections.
People who head up parole.
People, exactly, and the department. But what happens is, we had a client who had a warrant issued when he was 2 years of age. Obviously, it was a mistake. It was a natural error. But the police would have pulled him over. He would have been put in county jail. He would have missed his required intensive outpatient treatment. He would have ultimately been before a judge. And so the whole system, if you will, Stephen, doesn't exist to allow people to transform, to go to work, to be sober, to be functional. I mean, the difficulty if I'm working for Steve Adubato Corporation, and then I have to report to my parole officer, or I have to go to drug court. It's very difficult, because when people want to rejoin civic society and they want to work, and they do. I mean, there's a difference between the young guys, we call them frequent flyers, who come in and go out, come in and go out, come in and go out, as opposed to the guys that, went in under NERA, the No Early Release Act, in 15 years and 18 years. And Stephen, they've had it. They don't want to go back to prison. They want to change their life. But
they need help.
They need help.
What do they need, Jim?
One, they need housing. They need housing. They need a place to put their head at night that's safe and secure. And many of them can't go back to public housing, because if they go back to their mother, she's thrown out. And so when I worked in Harlem, the guys would ride subways all day just to do something. And so they need housing. They need secure housing. Second, they need continued treatment. 70% of the people behind bars are addicts or alcoholics. They need treatment. And I think that's where I'd like to congratulate the governor and Democrats and Republicans. Employment and training, which is so critical. We started in Jersey City, make sure people are training to a job. And I thank Mayor Fulop, because at the end of the day, Jersey City, because we're training people, whether to the hospitality industry, to the construction industry, to light manufacturing industry, so people have the skills. Then, as John said, an identification. You come out of prison, Stephen, with a DOC, Department of Corrections ID card, that's worth nothing. You can't get an apartment, you can't get a job, you can't get a credit card, and also we link them to a federally qualified healthcare center, to healthcare, so that at the end of the day, if they're HIV positive, if they have diabetes, they have hepatitis, and then to a mentor. So it's when I did this in seminary, I remember I was in New York, and I was like, mother of God, there's so many different systems, conflicting regulations, qualifications. And, I was blessed with the ability to go to law school. I don't understand this crap. How does somebody who's been in prison for 10 years, how do you navigate this?
Right.
And that's what we do.
That's what the corporation does.
That's what we do. We're navigators.
And so on your end, what do you feel you bring to the table as the leader, as the day-to-day leader of the organization? What impact do you feel you have?
Well, I bring, I think, a lot of credibility to the folks in the program from a completely different perspective. So having Governor McGreevey, of course, is a blessing to the reentry community. But when you're sitting there with folks who have done time, oftentimes they don't want to speak to other people who haven't done time, right? I would liken it to certain parts of drug and alcohol recovery. You do better when you speak to a sponsor that's been through it. And the fact that I can be that sort of bridge between the clients and any number of administrative or programmatic issues, I think has been really helpful. I started as a case manager. So when I first started, I didn't start as a director. I was working with the guys one-on-one to fix their issues. So I think in that sense, and I think it shows them that there is a way back. I mean, we're all on our road back from somewhere. And it shows them that if they can get it together, if they follow the program, and dear to my heart, follow sobriety and be a person of service. You know, when I was practicing, I thought I knew everything. I mean, I thought everything about the criminal law system. I thought I knew everything. I thought that I was the authority on all things in this subject. And then, you know, the prison door closes behind you. And I got to know my clients in a way that I never knew. And they would come into my office, and we had great relationships, and I never knew what they were going through. I knew what they felt. I never knew how to make them better. I knew how to steer them away from trouble, right? I knew how to protect their constitutional rights. And I think that now we have the opportunity in these sites to bring them sort of to redemption.
Let me ask you this. Jim, you understand it governmentally, you understand it politically, you understand the economics of this. You understand government at the highest level. You dealt with some New Jersey politics.
Sure.
And you've made it clear you don't want to talk about that. That's fine. Is this a political issue?
I think this is as much of an American issue.
Is it bigger than politics?
It should
Way
be.
bigger.
I think, Stephen, when you look at the, you know, I hate to say this, but when it was just urban communities, read Black and Latino, that were dying from the scourge of heroin, frankly, very few people gave a damn. And now when you see numbers of Caucasian white kids, I mean, the epicenter in New Jersey, it's Ocean County, it's Cape May. It's happening nationally. It's actually affecting white mortality rates. I mean, it's tragic that that's what it took.
Excuse me, Jim, are you finding that there's a greater receptivity on the part of certain elected officials who historically may not have been as receptive before?
Oh, I think that's, Stephen, you know, my grandfather was a cop. I was assistant prosecutor. Exactly. You know, though.
I know the story.
I've got my law enforcement bona fides, but I hate to say this. You walk through any jail and any state prison, and it's hard not to believe that there's endemic racism. I mean, which is a whole nother topic.
That's okay, but you're finding there's an audience now.
But now there's an audience
to do what?
To understand that at the end of the day, that putting someone who's active in their addiction merely through prison and not treating the systemic cause of their criminal behavior, namely their craving for that needle, their craving for that heroin or fentanyl, accomplishes nothing. That person literally goes through Northern State, goes through Rollway, and then they're back on the street doing the same bloody thing. And that's where I think in New Jersey, you know, dating back to Governor Kane and Governor Byrne and Governor Whitman and Governor Florio, we know addiction treatment is so essential. And so that's why I think, you know, to Governor Christie, one of the high moments of his presidential candidacy was talking about this scourge in real ways in New Hampshire, saying that this is not a Democratic or Republican. I mean, I sit next to mothers who could give a darn about, you know, partisan politics. Their son is dead, you know, and they try to get them into treatment, or the kid made some bad decisions. So I think rethinking this, and so it's not only getting that person early and putting them into intensive outpatient, but it's structured sober housing and it's employment. It's understanding that there's a close conflation between addiction in New Jersey and prisons, and they come together. And the addict, ultimately, I was with the young man this morning, there's two places you're gonna be, either in prison or dead. And understanding, and that's where I think we finally understand that connection.
The organization, there are two pieces to this. The New Jersey Reentry Corporation.
And that's all throughout northern and central New Jersey.
But the Jersey City Initiative, the Employment and Training Program. Jim is the executive director, and you're working as the deputy on that end. Jim and John, thank you, and I promise you will not be the last time we explore this issue, because this is not what, as they say in our business, a one-off conversation. Thank you guys. Stay right there.
Thank you.
My name is Carly Lloyd, and I have been with NJM since I first started driving. I'm a World Cup champion and 2-time Olympic gold medalist. If I could sum up NJM in one word, it would be extraordinary.
Extraordinary means being the best at something, separating yourself from everybody else.
I love being a part of NJM. They have the best insurance out there.
Join NJM's family of policyholders today. Get a quote now at startyournjm.com.
Also brought to you by Summit Medical Group, New Jersey Council of County Colleges, and by the New Jersey Education Association.